guys really liked my last video about mobile action roguelikes, so today I found 14 more great action-packed roguelikes that don't have any pay-to-win crap. These are the games you won't find promoted on the app stores, and I think you're gonna love them. And thanks to your awesome suggestions, by the way, I've even included a few bonus games along the way. The first game is Dungreed, and it's an adrenaline-pumping roguelite platforming RPG where you dash your way through small dungeon-like maps while fighting monsters. And since it is a roguelite, you of course acquire random new items along the way that gradually let you grow stronger. The gameplay is just good old fun in this game, but what truly sets it apart are the many unique weapon types that differ vastly from each other and the accessories that add buffs to make each run feel different. You can play the game with a Bluetooth controller, the pixel art and music is amazing, and it all only costs $5 which is half the price of the PC version. Now, one of the games that got me into action roguelikes on mobile is Pocket Rogues, and to my big surprise, it's still actively being updated. This one is a top-down roguelike RPG with endless randomized dungeons, lots of distinct character classes, a ton of loot, and awesome monsters and bosses to defeat. It's also free to play with a cheap in-app purchase to remove the ads. It has a 100% positive user score on my games discovery platform Mina Review, and frankly, I think you're just gonna love this one. My favorite new action roguelike is coming up as game number 5 in this video, but I first want to introduce you guys to the amazing twin-stick roguelite shooter Neon Chrome. This one takes place in a dystopian cyberpunk future where we run around inside a multiple-floor building while fighting guards, avoiding traps, and destroying killer robots, all in an attempt to eventually take down a ruthless boss enemy. Along the way, we buy permanent upgrades and temporary equipment that better prepares us for subsequent runs, and the randomly generated floor layouts with lots of weapons and enemies make each attempt a unique experience. Just like Dungreed, Neon Chrome can be played using a Bluetooth controller. It has a high level of replayability, and the price is $7 on both Android and iOS. So if you're looking for a fast-paced and action-packed roguelite shooter, you don't want to skip this one. And as today's first quick bonus game, Raspberry Mash is a fun free-to-play twin-stick shooter with a unique combat system and super fast-paced gameplay. I am aware that some have called this one a clone of Enter the Gungeon, but I haven't played that one, so I can't really say too much about that, and I did have a great time with Raspberry Mash, so I do still think it's worth checking out. Moving on, we've got Road Redemption Mobile, which is a brutally violent roguelike combat racing game where we ride across the US while taking down enemy bikers using both melee and ranged weapons. So the game is structured as one long race split into separate randomized missions, such as beating other bikers to the finish line or eliminating a certain number of bikers by pushing them into oncoming traffic. And the goal, of course, is to defeat all of those missions without dying. Now, as in any good roguelike, it features a ton of power-ups to unlock, and the fast-paced gameplay is just awesome. So if you're looking for a hardcore combat racing game, this one is a must-try. But a few weeks ago, though, my favorite new roguelike released, and it's a follow-up to Reverse's story called Ruin's Story. This is a 2D roguelite action shooter full of challenging boss fights, lots of weapons and power-up customizations, and a unique fast-paced combat system. So the game is split into separate dungeon rooms, ranging from normal enemy encounters to supply rooms with new weapons and upgrades. The ultimate goal is to eventually defeat the difficult boss room, but interestingly, since we decide when to enter that room, we can just grind better weapons for an easier time or head straight in for a real roguelike challenge. There's a lot more to this game, but it really just has to be experienced. So despite the bad English translation, and it is really bad by the way, I still strongly suggest checking it out if you like this type of gameplay experience. It's a free game that monetizes via ads and in-app purchases that aren't at all necessary to enjoy it, and it's just a perfect game for short play sessions as each room takes just a minute to complete. Now, one of the lesser known games in this genre is definitely Bit Dungeon 3, which is a 2D roguelike. Surprise! that features a randomly generated open world full of dungeons, enemies, and loot. And loot is really important in this game, since it's the equipment that defines our character, which also gives us complete freedom to create lots of unique builds in this game. Most interestingly though, we can join other players' worlds for PvP or co-op, which is pretty rare to see in these types of games. It's a $2 premium game, and while the touch controls are okay-ish, it is definitely best enjoyed with a controller. And as another quick bonus recommendation, you might also want to check out Immortal Rogue, which is a hack-and-slash roguelike where you play as a vampire. One of the really good ones though is Gunfire Reborn, which is a fun first-person roguelike shooter that basically plays like a dungeon crawler and features both single-player and 4-player co-op. It also has controller support, lots of fun weapons to acquire and upgrade, and unique traits for each hero, which is part of what explains its 100% positive user score on Mina Review. It's a $7 premium game, but if you like roguelike shooters, I think this is the best one out there, so I highly recommend it. Now, one of the better free action roguelikes in the sci-fi subgenre subgenre is definitely the asteroids-inspired Arcadium space war. With enemies storming at us from all sides, our job in this game is to frantically move around and shoot them all down, and as we progress, we then occasionally get to pick one of 3 random upgrades that last until we eventually die again. When that happens though, we can permanently grow stronger by upgrading different spaceships, acquiring stat-boosting pets, and unlocking 15 active skills that often mean the difference between life or death in this game. Now, it does have in-app purchases for more gold and gems, but almost everything can be acquired through gameplay, and the monetization never feels pushed in this game, so I do think this is one of the good ones. If you're more of a fan of cult-infested dark worlds and ancient secrets though, you might really enjoy Lovecraft's Untold Stories, which is a 2D twin-stick shooter. And don't get fooled here, guys. While you start out with a simple shotgun, you will quickly find yourself throwing dynamite sticks at interdimensional octopi while dodging enemy blasts and acid pools. It gets kinda crazy. You've been warned, but in a good way. Now, the roguelite elements in this game include collecting random items and power-ups, unlocking additional characters, and exploring randomly generated rooms through multiple runs. But the big difference here between this game and most of the other games mentioned today is that instead of starting all over when we die, we just respawn at a previous room. So it is a bit of a lighter roguelite. The touch controls are good, there's partial controller support, and there's even a free trial version that you can try before buying the full game for $10 US. But what about all the amazing reverse bullet hell games like Vampire Survivors? I've actually already done a full video on some of those roguelikes, but here is my super quick breakdown of the very best free and paid ones. So, the best paid games I found in this reverse bullet hell or bullet heaven subgenre is Brotato Premium and 20 Minutes Till Dawn Premium. And if you want to play a free game in the genre, I suggest Vampire Survivors, Pickle Pete, and Magic Survival. And I honestly think all of these 5 are easy recommendations, definitely worth checking out. Now, one of the more unique action roguelikes I've played is called The Way Home, and it stands out because we not only destroy enemies and bosses with our weapons, but also collect resources. Those resources, like different types of wood and stone, can then be spent in between runs on constructing and upgrading buildings that add permanent stat increases, which is one of several ways we grow stronger in the game. And unlike many of these games, as we progress in The Way Home, there's even a small cute story being told. The game is free to try with a $7 in-app purchase unlocking the full version, and I know that some like it, some find it too repetitive, but it is definitely a polished experience, and I had a great time with it. One of the games that was recommended to me a couple of times, but that I just initially dismissed as just another mindless, endless runner game, is actually a fun roguelite side-scroller, and it's called Chiki's Chase. Now, it is technically an endless runner as we run, jump, and shoot to survive waves of enemies and obstacles. But, importantly, it also has several of those roguelike elements, like random power-ups and several characters that have unique attacks, so I think it definitely deserves a spot here. Everything from the gameplay to the art style is also just really polished in this game, and it's free to play with no ads, and then just a $4 in-app purchase to unlock purely cosmetic items. Moving on to a more traditional action roguelike though, I've got Dwarf Journey. This is a 2D roguelite platformer where we slash our way through hordes of enemies while searching for treasures and mining for precious metals in randomly generated dungeons. When we die, we spend our rewards on improving our stats and gear until we're eventually strong enough to defeat the area boss and then move deeper into the dungeon to basically repeat that process. The pixel art style is great, and while the touch controls are good in this game, there is also Bluetooth controller support. It's a $3 premium game that often goes on sale for just a single $1, so definitely keep an eye on this one. Kingdom 2 Crowns is another really great roguelike, and this one even mixes in some tower defense gameplay elements, and I just love that, as you'll know if you watched my video on the very best mobile tower defense games. Now, in this game, we basically built our kingdom from a small village to a fort spanning several islands, all in the hope to survive the monsters that attack us every night. It's a game that essentially blends the resource management, tower defense, roguelike, and adventure genres into one game, and it also even has same device co-op. There's just a lot to like about this game, so if you've got $7 to spare, this is an easy recommendation. There you have it, my friends. Let me know which games I missed, and check out this video for the very best action-packed offline games, and I'll see you there in a bit.